Hello, guys. Welcome to the new show that I want to just start. I call the show Book Smart, right? So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. Today's book that I want to review is Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. And then, Peter Drucker, if you don't know, Peter Drucker is one of the thought leaders in business. He's an incredibly popular thought leader within the business and entrepreneurship industry. So he's considered by many to be a bit of a genius in this field. So yeah, he's a great guy. And the book that I'm reviewing today is Managing Oneself. Very incredible book, very short. It reads like an essay, very short, only a couple of pages, but very valuable. Okay, now right, like the let me just give you an overview of like what's like the number one takeaway of the book, right? The number one takeaway of the book is like know your strengths and weaknesses. Well, because he says you can't really build on weaknesses, right? You can only build on strengths. So that's like the real meat and bones of the book. But he goes about in the book like really explaining what does that actually entail, and what it actually means by that, and how to actually go about finding your strengths and weaknesses and building on them, right? Okay, let's get into it, right? I just wrote here quickly. First, right? First point, first takeaway of the book, right? How do you find out what your strengths and weaknesses actually are, right? Simple. He has a method called feedback analysis, right? Feedback analysis is a very simple idea, right? Basically, you basically take a series of experiments, right? And over a certain specified period of time, and then you empirically assess the results thereof, right? So, for example, say you wanna find out, okay, let's go to food because this is like one of the this is like a keto channel, right? Say now you're like, okay, when I drink coffee at a certain time of the day or at a certain time before I sleep, maybe at night, 6 o'clock in the evening at night, this is what usually happens. So I wake up like this, I feel like this in the morning, usually I feel lousy, I feel good. And then you go about and you check, okay, what happens? Then you drink that coffee, you do the experiment, and then you empirically check the next morning, okay, what actually happened? How do I feel? And then you do a counter experiment, maybe the day after. You're like, okay, let me not drink it at 6 o'clock. Let me now drink it 3-4 hours earlier, and let me see how I actually feel now. And then you basically go through these like series of experiments to actually assess what actually happens, or when you do A, what is usually the output? When you do B, what is usually the output? So basically, that's like feedback analysis, just a way to just experiment and constantly check the results and then constantly tweak it to arrive at the best possible outcome that you can. I don't know. I hopefully that helps somebody, right? Okay, now like the real importance with feedback analysis, right, is that when we grow up, like usually, right, you have like your parents just telling you, okay, this is, you're good at this, you're not good at this, you're good at this, you're not good at this. And that's usually actually a lie, or not even a lie per se. It's more like a misrepresentation of actually who you are. So now you can find at your core, you believe, okay, this is me, this is how I am, I'm shy, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm that. But you find that actually more of a product of your environment more than actually who you really are at the end, right? So basically, the importance of feedback analysis is just try and find out actually some things about yourself, and yeah, proceed from there, like to now start doing certain things because of what you actually found out about yourself, and make decisions based on actually empirical evidence rather than how you feel. Hopefully that helps. Okay, anyway, okay, now second question that he asked in the book, right? How do I perform? This is actually a very important question, right? because I don't like to use the high school example, but like let me just make this like, for example, now you're in high school, right? Most people in high school, like you find that they'll actually fail based entirely on how the school system is actually set up, right? So now they teach you assuming that everybody actually learns the same way. So let me give an example, right? Winston Churchill, right? He makes an example in the book. Winston Churchill was actually more of a writer, so he learns by writing than actually reading or listening. So they'll be teaching him something in class and he actually ends up failing because that's not actually how he learns. He learns by actually writing down. Another example, classic example of somebody who was a writer and actually did horribly in school was Beethoven as well. So how he actually would remember most of the music that he actually did was he'd have to just write it down on a sketch pad, and that was like what his process actually was to end up being the genius that it was. So now you can actually start to ask yourself, okay, how do I actually learn? How do I actually perform? Am I a reader? Am I a writer? Am I a listener? Am I a talker? Some people actually, they're more extreme cases, they learn by talking. So you'd have to actually ask yourself that. Okay, another important question that you ask is, do you work well with partners or do you work more by yourself? It's like one of the important questions that you ask. Do you work in big groups or do you work in like big organizations, small organizations, or in like big groups? What are your values? Do you value traveling? Do you value doing something in the office? Basically on values as well. You'd ask like a question like, do you like value like materials, like material objects, as opposed to traveling or something else? Like, it's another important question that you ask. Where do you belong? So, for example, right, some people do well more in like a noisy city, right, and then some people do actually a little bit better in like a farmhouse, somewhere very quiet. So you actually have to ask yourself that, right? And number 5, this is point number 5. What should you contribute to the world, right? For example, one of the more interesting guys is like Elon Musk. He actually sat down and actually decided his contribution to the world would be to speed up like the transition to like clear energy, to renewable energies. So yeah, you have to actually ask yourself that one. And then last point is, how do you manage relationships, friends, workplace, partners, children, etc., etc. So yeah, that's like the book in like a nutshell. And yeah, very interesting read. I enjoyed it very much.